As I pondered for a bit, Mia looked intently at me. Noticing her gaze, I looked back at her and she smiled, saying, "You're kind, aren't you? All right. For such a kind Alex, let's give you a reward." Having my long-admired person say such a thing, I was thrilled about what kind of reward awaited me and eagerly awaited what would come next. Phew, we've arrived. My name is Alex, a 30-year-old working at a company in New York. Today, I'm using the long weekend to fly back to my hometown. Because major holidays and Christmas get so crowded, I usually take a few days off randomly during a long weekend to visit home about once every 6 months. After exiting the arrival lobby, I entered a diner I always visit. I frequent this diner every time I come home. That's because I worked here part-time when I was in high school. I wonder if it's her day off today. She hasn't quit, has she? After looking around the diner for a while, I felt a bit let down. I was looking for Mia. She was a senior when I was working part-time, and now she's the manager of this place. She's a beauty that turns every head in the place, with impeccable customer service to boot. She was the senior I admired, always teaching me kindly and carefully, even when I was a newbie. And she was the only woman who ever called my smile cute. Ever since I was a kid, I've been teased by my classmates for my squinty-eyed smile, making it a complex of mine. Although I intended to work only in the kitchen, this diner required working in the hall as well, and there was customer service training. Despite not wanting to force a smile for work, I nervously tried my best, and Mia called that smile cute. At that moment, I fell for her. But there was a problem. Mia was 10 years my senior. There was no way she would see me as a romantic prospect. At the time, Mia had a boyfriend, and I couldn't even confess my feelings. After quitting the part-time job to attend college in New York, I ended up working there, and during my biannual visits home, I'd drop by this diner, chat with her if she was working. It's been over a decade since I met her, and by now, the hope of getting together with her has faded, but talking with Mia always warms my heart. Seeing Mia during my visits home was always a soothing moment. 2 days later, I ended my visit home and headed to the local airport a bit early. Peeking into the diner where I used to work, I spotted Mia before entering the shop today. Her radiant smile still dazzled me. I then stepped inside the diner. "Welcome, oh Alex, it's been a while, hasn't it? How's work going?" "Smoothly. Got a girlfriend?" I furrowed my brows in frustration. "Even you, Mia. Give me a break. I'm already exhausted from my parents nagging me about when I'm going to get married." Seeing my trolled face, Mia laughed. "Oh dear, you seem to have worried your parents. I don't get nagged about it anymore. Here, take a seat wherever you like." Prompted by her, I took a seat. Mia brought over the pasta I had ordered. "Be careful, the plate is hot," she said as she placed the pasta in front of me. "I'm always happy to see you stop by. You're so diligent." Unable to voice out that I came to see Mia, I just started eating my pasta. "What time is your flight back to New York?" "The 5 p.m. flight," I replied after swallowing a bite of pasta. Mia glanced at the clock inside the diner and said, "That's quite early. It's only 2 p.m. now, right? Oh, I'm about to take a break soon, so I can keep you company for an hour to kill some time," making me overjoyed. "Are you sure?" As I responded with a smile, Mia said, "Yes. Haha, your smile is still as cute as ever," then turned on her heel and headed back to the kitchen. Even now, being praised by Mia for my smile, which I've always been self-conscious about, made me feel warmly happy. I waited for Mia to take her break, and then we left the diner. We strolled around the airport for a bit. While heading to the counter with Mia to check in my luggage, an announcement was made about the next flight being canceled due to a mechanical issue. "It's not your flight, right, Alex? That's a relief." "Yeah, Mine is the one after the next. As we engaged in casual conversation, the counter became swamped with people. They were probably trying to rebook for the next flight. Deciding to check in our luggage later, we headed to the observation deck to watch the planes together. "Please wait, can't you do something? I really need to get on the next flight," a man was pleading desperately nearby. Watching the situation, after a brief exchange with the counter staff, the man hung his head and walked away from the line. Seeing the man, I exclaimed, "Ah, Ethan, is that you, Ethan?" When I called out to him, the man looked up and saw me. Then he broke into a wide smile. "Alex, wow, it's been so long, since high school graduation." "Yeah, it has. How've you been? What's going on with you?" As I asked, Ethan glanced at Mia standing next to me. "Oh, this is Mia, a senior from when I used to work part-time in high school. She's keeping me company to kill some time." I introduced Mia to Ethan, and then Mia said something surprising. "I know him. Ethan, right. It's been a while. How are you?" "Yeah, I'm good." "And Mia?" "I'm fine. How's your brother doing? Is he well?" Well." The conversation between Mia and Ethan was somewhat awkward. Confused by the situation, Mia turned to me. "You know, I used to date Ethan's brother. We broke up after I got sick." She smiled faintly, looking a bit downcast. "My brother was pretty down about it at the time," Ethan muttered reluctantly. Hearing that, Mia said, "I see. I must have left him with a heavy burden," with a smile, but Ethan couldn't look directly at her. "What's going on with you, Ethan? You were yelling about something earlier." Mia continued the conversation as if nothing had happened. "Oh, well, that." Ethan scratched his nose awkwardly. "You're hiding something, aren't you?" Mia pointed out sharply. "You always scratched your nose like that when you were making up excuses for your mischief so your brother wouldn't find out, didn't you?" Exposed like that, Ethan's face turned red. "It's okay, don't worry about me. I need to hurry." With that, Ethan tried to leave us behind. But I stopped him. "It's not like you don't care, right? It's rare for you to raise your voice like that." When I said this while looking directly at Ethan, he hung his head. "My wife, she's pregnant right now." At his words, Mia smiled gently. "Ethan is so kind." Faced with this response, Ethan looked embarrassed. I was clueless and just silently watched the two of them. "You know, I broke up with Ethan's older brother because my illness left me unable to have children. I guess Ethan is being considerate and avoiding a topic of pregnancy around me." I was shocked by this huge revelation, and Ethan nodded. Mia looked at Ethan with a serious, almost angry gaze. "You don't have to be considerate towards me. What happened? Is something wrong with your wife?" Confronted by Mia's intense stare, Ethan reluctantly shared, "It seems she slipped on the stairs despite being early in her pregnancy and had to be rushed to the hospital." I was surprised, and Mia exclaimed, "That's terrible. You need to go back immediately." "But the flight is fully booked, and I'm first on the wait list." Ethan nervously checked the counter. He was probably waiting for his name to be called. Mia glanced at the counter. "I have a friend at the check-in. Let me ask for you." As Mia was about to rush to the counter, I grabbed her wrist to stop her. "What are you doing? We need to hurry." Mia glared at me, frustrated. "I'm on the next flight, so I'll cancel my ticket. Then Ethan, being first on the wait list, will definitely get my seat, right?" At my words, both Mia and Ethan's eyes widened. "That's really kind of you, but it would be troublesome for you." Ethan hesitated, which I found amusing. "I've taken the day off work tomorrow. I was just planning to return to New York a day early with some leeway. So don't worry about it and use this," I said, offering the ticket, and Ethan grabbed my hand. "I'm deeply grateful." He firmly grasped my hand, his own shaking slightly. "And I will definitely repay this favor. I've been in your debt since high school," he said, uncharacteristically. Indeed, we had helped each other out back then, lending notebooks and copying homework. I smiled wryly at the memory. Though I was worried about the ticket exchange, Mia spoke to her friend at the check-in, and the process concluded smoothly. I rebooked my flight for the next day's noon. Relieved, Ethan said he needed to go to the bathroom and ran off in search of one. As I watched Ethan head towards the bathroom, I pondered what to do until tomorrow, when Mia looked at me intently. Noticing her gaze, I looked back at Mia, who smiled and said, "You are really kind." I thought giving up my ticket to Ethan was worth it, but then Mia added, "All right, for such a kind Alex, I'll give you a reward." I was thrilled, wondering what the reward would be. "I'll treat you to dinner tonight at my favorite restaurant," she said, and I was over the moon, feeling as if my airplane ticket had turned into a date. "I still have 3 hours of work, but if you don't mind waiting, will you wait for me?" I nodded vigorously. "I can wait for hours. I love airports." Laughing at this, Mia said, "You've been like this since high school, huh? See you later then." I watched Mia return to work with a dumbfounded look. Since Ethan had some time until his 5 p.m. boarding, I was idly watching the planes take off and land on the deck with him, but Ethan would frequently step away to make phone calls. It seemed like he was talking to family members or someone from the hospital. When alone, I couldn't help but think about Mia. Though I didn't hear the details, the thought of not being able to have children lingered in my mind. Mia loves kids, and her smile always grows even wider when children come to the diner. She happily brings out children's dishes and chairs and chats with them. While I was thinking about this, Ethan sat down next to me after finishing his call. "Is your wife okay?" I asked Ethan, who looked downcast, and he replied, "They're examining her in detail right now, so I'm not sure." As someone who's not married, I had no more words to offer, so Ethan and I silently sipped coffee on the deck. After a moment of silence, Ethan looked at me tentatively. Then he asked, "Hey, do you like Mia?" Which made me choke. What are you talking about?" Ignoring my coughing, Ethan continued. "Well, you seem to have a good vibe going. I noticed you were quite smitten." I started to panic, wondering if my feelings were that obvious. Seeing my reaction, Ethan laughed. "If you do like Mia, I thought I might have some good advice for you." I was annoyed by Ethan's teasing, but then he said, "If you don't like her, this information would only be a bother to you, so I won't say anything." I admitted, "Well, I'm not seriously in love, but I've always admired her." Ethan laughed again. "Mia is beautiful and kind. I get why you'd fall for her," he said, making my face heat up. "So, what is it? This good news you're talking about?" I urged him on, trying to hide my embarrassment, and Ethan chuckled. "You worked at that place in high school, right? Mia often talked about you, said you were conscientious and thoughtful, not like a typical high school student. She said your smile was cute, even though your eyes squint and you make a funny face when you laugh." His unnecessary remark dampened my spirits. "She talked about you so much that my brother got jealous. You might have a chance," he said, making my face turn red even in front of Ethan. After that, I thanked Ethan multiple times as I saw him off to the boarding gate and stood alone on the deck again, thinking about Mia. She had been talking about me when I wasn't around, and she had been praising me. I had always thought Mia complimented my smile just to boost my confidence, not because she really meant it. But to think she said such things about me even when I wasn't there. I was so moved I almost cried. To know that someone genuinely liked my smile, which I've always been self-conscious about, and that someone was Mia, whom I've admired for so long. As I was blushing at the thought of Mia, the real Mia appeared in front of me, saying, "Sorry to keep you waiting," and I panicked. We left the airport and headed to the employees' parking lot. We drove to Mia's favorite restaurant in her cute light blue compact car. It was a small Italian place, and the arrabbiata was superb. But I heard that women on a date with someone they're interested in avoid ordering anything with garlic. Perhaps I'm not considered a romantic interest. The conversation was tense at first but soon flowed freely, and we talked for about an hour at the restaurant. I wanted to spend more time together, but without being lovers, there was no reason to keep her late into the night. "Is it okay to drop you off at your parents' house?" she asked, and I shook my head. When I left home, my mother had already cleaned my room. I thought it'd be bad to extend my stay, so I booked a hotel. There were no single rooms left, so it's a twin, I explained, having booked the hotel while waiting for Mia. When I told her the name of the hotel, Mia grinned. "A room for two, huh?" As I was admiring her beautiful smile, she said, "It must be lonely in such a big room by yourself," and I chuckled. "I'll enjoy the spacious room all by myself." At my words, Mia's smile widened and she dropped a bombshell. "Should I stay with you then?" I turned bright red and panicked. "No, that's with Mia. Stay over." "No, that can't be right. A man and a woman in the same room, that's not appropriate," I blurted out, flustered, and Mia burst into laughter. "Ahaha, come on. Nothing's going to happen with a woman 10 years your senior, right?" Mia said, laughing. After a good laugh, she looked a bit melancholy. "Well, it wouldn't matter if something did happen. I'm not really a woman anymore." She laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "Don't say that, Mia, you are always a wonderful woman." Unable to come up with anything more clever to say, I looked down. Then Mia took a deep breath, started the engine, and said, "Do you still have time? Let's go for a little drive," steering the car in the opposite direction of the hotel. Holding the steering wheel and looking straight ahead, Mia began to talk. When she and her boyfriend, Ethan's older brother, were discussing marriage, Mia was struggling with irregular periods. The pain became so severe that she went to the hospital, where she learned she had to have a hysterectomy due to her condition. It was aggressive and had been caught late, leaving no option but a complete removal. I regretted it so much. If only I had gone to the hospital sooner. If only I had gotten my regular periods checked. After losing her uterus and the possibility of having children, Mia broke up with her boyfriend. He said it was okay not to have children, but Mia's guilt kept growing. This guilt sometimes turned into irritation, which she took out on him, leading to an increasingly strained relationship and eventually to their breakup. When we decided to break up, I was so sad, but a big part of me was relieved. Now he could have his own children with someone else. Mia said this with a slight smile, still looking ahead. I had to throw myself into work. Just then, the manager was quitting, and I applied for the position. By dedicating herself to her job, she avoided relationships with men. Mia shared all this with me. Thanks to that, every time I came home, I could see Mia. Mia smiled at my words. And then we arrived at our destination. It was a hill overlooking the town, offering a beautiful view of the night lights. There was a space to park the car, with a clear view of the town below. "It's beautiful," I murmured, and Mia looked pleased. "It can't compare to New York's night view, but I love it here. When I'm feeling down, I come here to watch the night sky." Mia's face, illuminated by the night lights and the moon, looked incredibly mystical and beautiful. As I looked at her, my mouth moved on its own. "I like you," I confessed to Mia in just one sentence. Mia looked surprised for a moment but then laughed. "What brought this on all of a sudden? Oh, do you mean you like the night view? Did I misunderstand?" Even in the moonlight, I could see her blushing as she laughed. I remembered my conversation with Ethan. There might be a chance. If I don't say it now, I might never get another chance. I gathered my courage. "No, I mean, I've liked you, Mia, for a long, long time, and I still do." I made sure Mia had no way to avoid my gaze, telling her seriously. Mia realized my confession was sincere, stopped laughing, and looked at me sternly. Do you pity me? I don't need your sympathy. Her voice contained a slight anger, and I shrank back but said, It's not pity or anything like that. I've liked you since high school. I know I'm 10 years younger and probably not considered a romantic prospect, but could you start considering me as one now? Mia then looked at me with a pitying expression. Alex, you're still 30, right? No, it's not right. Don't waste your time on an old lady like me. Marry a cute girl, have children, and show me their faces. I can't have my own kids, but I still love them, so I want to see your kids. Mia said this and turned away, as if fleeing from my earnest gaze. I moved in front of Mia and placed my hands on her shoulders. No, I want you, Mia. It has to be you. I haven't been able to forget you for over 10 years. Otherwise, I wouldn't visit your shop every time I come home. That would be creepy, right? I'm sorry if it's creepy, but you've always been my aspiration and the person I love. Every 6 months when I see you, my feelings reignite. I've tried to forget. I've had moments where I felt good with someone else, but it never works. You've always. Feeling a sting in the back of my nose, I paused for a moment. Then, I turned to Mia and gave her the biggest smile I could muster. I've always been really self-conscious about this smile of mine. I hardly ever smile now, but you said my smile was cute. I can smile in front of you. I can only smile in front of you, Mia. When you said my smile was cute, you meant it, right? Tears welled up in Mia's eyes. She nodded silently. I can forget you, the one who erased my complex. You're the only one who calls me cute. As long as I have you, that's all I need. I'm not hung up on having children. I just want to spend the rest of my life with you, Mia. Am I not enough? Mia looked down. It won't work, because when you're 40, I'll be 50, you know. So what? I'll be an unremarkable 40-year-old, and Mia will surely be a graceful 50-year-old. Mia shook her head slowly. Men in their 30s and 40s, they're attractive. Young girls won't leave you alone. Her voice was trembling. I don't want young girls. I want to be needed by Mia. I spoke quietly, and Mia still resisted. When you're 50, I'll be 60, you know. Her way of resisting was cute. I'll be a plain old man. Maybe my hair will start thinning soon, or maybe even sooner. And Mia, you'll be a beautiful 60-year-old. Let's celebrate that. At the mention of my thinning hair, I sensed Mia trying to suppress a laugh. When you're 60, I cut off Mia's words. Are we still going on about this, Mia? Even at 70 or 80, with white hair, you'll be gentle and beautiful. I might be a hunched-over old man with poor posture. No matter how many years pass, I can never catch up to you or become older than you. I'll always be 10 years younger, but I'll strive to be a man Mia can rely on. So, please, walk for life with me. After I said this, Mia looked up, her eyes slightly moist. Are you really okay with not having children? With not having your own kids? That's unfair to you and your parents. She pleaded with tears streaming down her face. My parents would be over the moon if I brought home a beauty like Mia. They'd say, well done. At that, Mia seemed to give in, looking upwards. I guess there's no helping it. Well, I'll go out with you until the real love of your life appears, okay? Her words seemed like a shy cover-up, so I hugged Mia tightly. Looking down at the night view below, I felt as if it were blessing us. Just then, my phone rang. It was Ethan, calling with happy tears to report that both mother and child were safe. Mia and I both sat down, relieved. I made it work with Mia, too. When I reported this to Ethan, he let out a loud cheer. Then, I could hear someone scolding him in the background. Maybe it was his wife. I promised to call back later to congratulate them properly, and hung up. I was overflowing with happiness. Soon after, I quit my job in New York and transferred to a factory that was being newly established in my hometown. Mia, who had been sure that our long-distance relationship would continue, was surprised by my swift action. I wanted to show my commitment. Then I handed Mia the brochure. It was from an organization supporting adoption. Mia, who had never considered adoption, was taken aback. I really like seeing you with children, so I thought this could be an option for us. After saying this, Mia sniffled a little. And you see, like it says in this brochure, there's an age limit to becoming parents. 42 years old. Mia, hurry up and marry me. We'll run out of time. As I continued, Mia protested. What? Wait a minute. Oh, I see what you're doing, rushing me so I don't have time to think. Huh? You're good at this. Despite her grumbling, her eyes were smiling. I can still vividly recall that scene. Mia kept asking, "Are you sure I'm the one you want?" And each time, I assured her that she was. A year later, Mia finally said, "I can't do it anymore. I can't imagine a life without you," and decided to marry me. Now, our adopted daughter is turning 2. Mia strokes our daughter's head as she naps and looks at her with such tenderness. "I'm so happy right now," Mia says, her face radiating with loving kindness. "Thank you for not giving up on me, Alex," she says with a smile. As I chuckle bashfully, Mia starts to share something. "I was actually considering switching jobs, not just at the diner, but then I realized I wouldn't see you whenever you came back home, so I stayed there." Whispering so as not to wake our daughter, Mia shares this, and I blush deeply. "Why didn't you tell me something so nice sooner?" I protest. Mia responds, "I thought you wouldn't give up on me if I said that." "I wouldn't have given up anyway," I say with a laugh, and Mia laughs too. I truly love Mia, who is always charming and beautiful and can say such delightful things out of the blue. I know she recently bought a beauty device secretly, thinking I wouldn't find out. I don't care about age. I'll always love Mia. I want us to create many laugh lines together, living modestly with our adorable daughter. Looking at our daughter's peaceful sleeping face, Mia and I shared a laugh. "Wearing a tracksuit to a mixer is just lame, man. That's a no-go. Why don't you just head home?" I was invited to drinks by a former middle school classmate, having been told it was just a casual get-together with old classmates, so I showed up in my casual tracksuit. However, upon arrival, I realized it wasn't just a casual drinking session, but a mixer. The women were already there, and there was no turning back. "Ah, did I make you mad? Are you upset? It was just a joke. Don't take it seriously. Haha." When I tried to respond angrily, the organizer, my former classmate, would just brush it off as a joke. The vibe was kind of awkward, but I figured it couldn't be helped and was heading to the bar. That's when one of the women who came whispered something in my ear. "My name is Jason. I'm just an average guy, but there's one thing about me that might be a bit unusual. I have an undying love for tracksuits. Lately, I've seen a lot of functional clothing, but I always end up thinking, isn't a tracksuit good enough? It's comfortable without any unnecessary tightness, has the right amount of stretch, it's easy to clean and dries fast, and the designs are cool." I could go on and on about the benefits. I just love tracksuits that much. I have them divided into ones for sports and ones for lounging around at home, and my closet is practically filled with them. My preference for wearing tracksuits probably stems from my love of sports. In the elementary school, I was juggling multiple sports clubs like basketball, soccer, and tennis. Once I got to the middle school, I had to focus on my studies and choose just one sport. After much deliberation, I joined the basketball team, my favorite, and dedicated myself to it for 3 years. Even now, as an adult, I continue to be active, sometimes playing basketball with friends on weekend. On days when I can't play basketball, I never skip my jogging routine. Even when I'm tired or busy with work, as long as it's feasible, I go for a run. It's become a daily habit, and I feel restless when I can't do it. It's probably a testament to how much fulfillment I find in physical activity. Or maybe it's because I can't wear my sports tracksuits. No, probably not. One day while jogging, I suddenly remembered something from my middle school days. It was an unforgettable memory from the last regional tournament in middle school. Please, let this work. The heat of summer and the fervor of the audience. Surrounded by two kinds of heat at the venue, I prayed out loud. We were losing by a narrow margin in the final minute of the game. As I took the shot, I remember the moment until the ball went in or missed felt like it was in slow motion. Yes, it went in. After what felt like an eternity, the ball finally passed through the hoop. We not only caught up but took the lead. Jason, I was celebrating with my teammates, fully convinced we had secured a comeback victory. But then, as if struck by divine punishment for our complacency, the unthinkable happened. No way, you've got to be kidding. In the final moments, our opponents landed a three-pointer. Despite our desperate attempts to take the lead back, we were defeated, our resistance in vain. In the end, our complacency led to a bitter loss and a turnaround. Since then, I've lived by the motto, never let your guard down. In basketball, as in everything, you never know what might happen until the very end. Memories of the game brought back images of my teammates sobbing uncontrollably. Now, it's just a nostalgic memory, but back then, it felt like the world had ended. Thinking back, I heard the guy who cried the most is now running a company. I'll be darned, that guy, I think to myself, but I guess we're all in the same boat. Today was a day off. I planned to go jogging, but what else should I do? Basketball was out since the regular crew couldn't make it. Besides, the weather was unfortunately not suitable for outdoor sports. A bummer for a day off, but maybe it's a chance to do something different. With that in mind, after jogging, I changed into my loungewear tracksuit and stayed indoors. I even cleaned parts of the house I usually don't bother with. For lunch, I whipped up something from leftovers in the fridge. As the evening rolled around and I got bored, I watched a movie I'd been meaning to see on a streaming service. I had some unopened snacks, so I enjoyed them as I watched. That was a thought-provoking story. I mused to myself as the credits rolled, when suddenly my phone on the desk started buzzing. It was a call. Who could it be? Hopefully not work-related. I fought with a sense of dread. Picking up the phone, the screen showed the name Tyler. Tyler was a middle school classmate, someone I rarely kept in touch with. Wondering what it could be about, I muted the TV and answered the call. "Hello. Hey, long time no see, Jason," came Tyler's voice from the other end of the phone, unchanged since those days. His tone was the same as back then, bringing back vivid memories of the old days. "Long time indeed. What's up? Out of the blue. You know, you missed the reunion a while back, right? Everyone was bummed they didn't get to see you," he said. "About half a year ago, I got word of the reunion from another former classmate. I had wanted to go, but unfortunately, work got in the way. As a sort of make-up for that, a few of us from middle school are getting together for drinks tonight. You want to come?" Saying that, Tyler told me about the other members who would be joining. Hearing some familiar names, it definitely seemed like a reunion rematch was in the cards. "Got it, I'll be there." "Great, I'll send you the location link in a message. We'll meet there." "Sure thing. See you later." I hung up and started getting ready to go out. I heard it was just a casual get-together with classmates, so I didn't bother dressing up and left in my casual tracksuit. The weather was still on and off rain, with even darker clouds visible in the distance. "Looks like we're in for a heavy downpour," I muttered, slipping a foldable umbrella into my bag and heading out. Walking from a certain station to the designated bar, I spotted a group dressed to the nines. Among them was Tyler, the classmate who had contacted me. He was with a group of women. As I approached, still puzzled, Tyler burst into laughter upon seeing me. "Why are you wearing a tracksuit, man?" he chuckled. That's when I finally realized this gathering was a mixer. To get me to come, knowing I'd refuse if it was a mixer, he lied and said it was just a casual drinking party with classmates. That's probably it. "You still all brawn and no brain," Tyler said, laughing and mocking me. The other classmates laughed along with him, which felt pretty bad. "Whatever, let's go, big guy." Tyler, acting as the organizer and group leader, said and led the way to the bar. Following him in order were the classmates, the women, and then me. Big guy, that's a nostalgic nickname. I murmured to myself so no one could hear. Big guy was my nickname in middle school. I was big and muscular, and also in the basketball team. I got the nickname because my situation resembled a character in a certain basketball cartoon. Back then, it felt like most people called me that out of respect, but now Tyler seemed to use it mockingly. I'm not the same as I used to be. I don't just do sports all the time. I don't think I'm just a musclehead. But Tyler and the others don't seem to see it that way. Should I snap back, or just laugh it off? While I was thinking, Tyler, walking in front, said loudly, "Wearing a tracksuit to a mixer is just lame, man. That's a no-go. Why don't you just head home?" He had this annoying smirk on his face. That reminded me. He has always been the type to mock and laugh at others when he got carried away. I'm not good at showing emotions and don't get angry much, but I'm especially bad with such people. They mistake my silence for acceptance. Sigh. Faced with Tyler's behavior, I let out a sigh. Does he think I won't get angry no matter what he says? Look, man. Unable to stay silent any longer, I opened my mouth to say something. But Tyler quickly interrupted me with his usual assertiveness. Did I make you mad? Are you upset? It was just a joke. Don't take it seriously. Haha. That's his usual tactic. Say something to provoke anger, then, when someone is about to get mad, escape by claiming it was just a joke. This unbeatable phrase is tricky because if you get angry at Tyler's laughing, you're seen as the guy who can't take a joke to everyone else. So, I had to stay calm. I didn't know it was a mixer. Oh, really? Tyler just feigned ignorance when confronted. It was frustrating, but to avoid making more of a scene, I had no choice but to go along with his pace. After all, there were women around. The mixer partners were all beauties. They were all flight attendants from the same airline. On the way to our seats in the bar, one of them whispered to me, "Captain, why are you hiding it?" Her name was Grace, a female colleague from the same company. The other women, whom I also knew, kept glancing over. "I'm sorry for making things awkward. I'll explain when I get a chance." Okay. Grace seemed unconvinced but didn't press any further. Shortly after the mixer started, a man arrived late. I had wondered why there was one man short, but now it made sense. Tyler hadn't explained this either. "Good evening. Sorry I'm late," he said in a stylish outfit, making him seem like a completely different entity compared to me in my tracksuit. I recognized him. No, it was more than that. "Isn't that David?" "Hey, long time no see, Jason." He was David, a classmate and teammate from the basketball club. He was the one who cried the most after we lost our last tournament. His impressive attire made sense since he runs an apparel company. "Sorry, can I get a beer?" David sat next to me, smiling as he ordered a beer from the waiter. He introduced himself to the women and smoothly started to blend into the conversation. Unlike Tyler, he didn't mock my tracksuit and seemed to enjoy the conversation. A little while after he joined, He was chatting happily when Tyler abruptly interrupted him. I remembered. This guy used to cry a lot in middle school. Tyler's words were meant as a taunt. David responded with a furrowed brow, and it was clear he was remembering, just like I had earlier, that Tyler was always this kind of guy. He used to bawl his eyes out over losing a club match, and remember when he cried because a cicada landed on his shoulder. Ha ha! Tyler pointed at David, trying to turn him into the butt of the joke. But Tyler was the only one laughing. Cut it out, Tyler. It's not funny at all. Haha, just kidding, man. You're still so serious. Now I became the target for defending David. Right, you've always been like that, no sense of humor. Can't even crack a joke, always just a jock, and you even failed your first choice high school entrance exam. Tyler went on with his insults about me. Right, guys. He sought agreement from the other classmates, but they seemed aware of the situation. Seriously, it's funny that you came to a mixer in a tracksuit. Hey, Tyler, just stop, will you? Yeah, look around, man. Perhaps realizing it only after being told off by those he thought were his lackeys, Tyler stopped my story midway. Indeed, all the women were looking at him with cold, unamused expressions. In that awkward atmosphere, Grace spoke up. So, Tyler, you can only speak ill of others, huh? Is that all you have to talk about? She said it with a gentle smile, but her choice of words seemed tinged with subtle anger. Upon hearing this, Tyler's face stiffened. You're not funny, and you're the worst as a person. You're ruining the mood of the party, making it no fun at all. You told Jason to go home earlier, but you should be the one to leave. The other women agreed with Grace. Tyler, seemingly not expecting this, turned red and shook with contained anger. A joke is supposed to be fun, but yours are just malicious and uncomfortable. It shows your true character. Grace didn't hold back. And the other women nodded in support. None of the men tried to stop her. They must have been feeling the same dissatisfaction towards Tyler. You bastard. Finally speaking up, Tyler showed no signs of apology or remorse. Instead, he exploded in anger. Don't get cocky just because you're pretty, he yelled as he walked towards the women, trying to grab Grace. Whoa, that's enough. Unable to just stand by, I stepped between Tyler and Grace. I grabbed Tyler's arm, glaring at him to silently convey stop it. I'm still somewhat fit, and I've always been bigger than him. Stopping him was no trouble at all. Captain, thank you, Grace said loudly, making sure others could hear. The word captain caused a stir among the classmates. Captain. Yeah, she did call Jason captain, didn't she? I had thought I would mention my job when the time was right, but I never expected it to come out like this. Releasing Tyler, who looked dazed, I turned to everyone. Actually, I'm a pilot. At my revelation, my classmates expressed their surprise. Grace then added, we actually work for the same company. I never thought we'd be invited to the same drinking party. While we laughed at the strange coincidence, Tyler slumped to the ground. In middle school, I was too focused on club activities and my grades weren't great. In high school, I worked hard to balance basketball and studies. All that effort paid off when I got into an aviation college. I only mentioned my dream once in middle school. I think it was during a break when I was talking about the future with friends. I want to be a pilot someday, to fly freely in the sky. While we were having a good time, Tyler barged in and threw a wet blanket on it. Come on, a pilot, like you could ever become one, haha. The dream of being a pilot was even older than my basketball days. I kept it alive despite Tyler and his gang mocking it. After that, I never spoke of this dream again. But I never gave up. I secretly continued to work hard, and here I am, a pilot. Tyler, slumped on the ground, glared at me bitterly. To him, I expressed my dissatisfaction. You haven't changed since middle school, Tyler. You only bring others down to show yourself, but that doesn't mean you're getting any higher. How about realizing that? You're an adult now, aren't you? He continued to glare. Why can't you understand that such tactics don't work anymore? He bit his lip in frustration. Then David added, Sure, I was a crybaby, but that was a long time ago. Tyler had never asked about the current Jason or current David. Even after more than 10 years since middle school, he clung to the past. Now, I run my own company. Sorry to say, but I think I'm living a much better life than you. David stood up, turning towards Tyler as if showing off his appearance. Your watch and shoes are mass-produced, and the sewing on your clothes is sloppy, cheap stuff. Obviously, I'm not saying wearing cheap things is bad, but at least you're not in a position to mock Jason's tracksuit, right? Embarrassed by the pointing out, Tyler covered his watch with his hand and stood up. His face was again red, a mix of shame and anger. Shut up, I won't invite any of you ever again. With that, Tyler suddenly ran out of the bar. After he left, the atmosphere of the drinking party became much more pleasant. The classmates who had been close to Tyler seemed to be reflecting, heads down. Sorry for going along and laughing with him. Should have stopped him. Excuse sounds weak, but being around old friends, I guess I got carried away, like reverting to childhood. Those classmates, as an apology, even offered to pay the whole bill. The gathering no longer felt like a mixer, just a casual drinking party. Especially for me, since everyone else was a colleague. The idea of a mixer now seemed embarrassingly out of place. Anything more might make things awkward at work. Suddenly, Grace looked at David as if remembering something and spoke. By the way, David, you often fly on our company's planes, don't you? Yeah, I travel overseas a lot for work, so I use them frequently. David replied with a smile. Wait a minute, I haven't heard about this. David and I had kept in touch occasionally, and he knew which airline I worked for as a pilot. Hey David, is that true? Yeah, it's true. I didn't say it, but I've been on flights you piloted. Seriously? Wow, I was shocked, not knowing David had been on my flights. Every time the captain greeted, I looked forward to seeing if it was you. He said, laughing. Meanwhile, I couldn't laugh, embarrassed at being observed at work without knowing. Then, David started talking about his apparel brand. The women were very interested in his story. David of today bore no resemblance to the boy who cried after losing a game. He had grown into a confident and respectable man. As the party wrapped up, David and I chatted for a bit. Great seeing you again, Jason. Definitely, it's best to talk face to face. Though we messaged each other, meeting in person was different. I had fun today, let's drink again sometime, David. I invited him, but he looked downcast. David, curious, I leaned in as he quietly began to speak. I've been meaning to tell you, I'm moving to Paris for work. Is that so? He was leaving the US in just a week. I'm glad I could see you one last time, he said, extending his hand. Accepting the handshake felt like saying goodbye. For a moment, I thought that. But either way, the reality of parting was inevitable, so I extended my hand too. Well, it's not like we'll never meet again. Right, David, we have messages, and we can call if we want. We shook hands firmly, smiling as we parted ways. A week later, as a captain, I was on a flight to Paris. The weather was clear, and the flight was smooth. Just before landing, I started the in-flight announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, our aircraft will soon be entering its descent. Please prepare for landing by returning your seat backs to their original position, stowing your tray tables, and securing your footrests. I then added instructions about stowing luggage and announced that the cabin crew would be making a final check. After the usual greetings, I continued. This is a personal message. I had rehearsed it many times in my mind, but the actual moment still made me nervous. A dear friend of mine is on this flight, embarking on a new journey to a new land, ready to spread his wings on the global stage. It is an honor to be part of this significant step in his life. He is a kind person, one who gets angry, cries, and laughs for others. As a friend, it's saddening to part ways with him. However, our airline connects the world, and together with other airlines, it brings the world closer. To all our passengers, we look forward to welcoming you aboard again. After saying everything I wanted, I turned off the microphone. Taking a deep breath, my co-pilot Kevin gave me a small round of applause. Great speech, Jason. Thanks. I might get in trouble for doing something like this, but it felt right. We shared a laugh. Right about now, Grace must be giving David a certain package. I had asked her in advance to deliver it, a modest gift for him as he embarks on his journey to new horizons. The package contained 3 things. A group photo taken after our last basketball game in middle school, a letter, and a handkerchief for any tears. I had told her to ask him to open it after reaching his destination, but I wondered if he would wait. Those were the days. I thought, holding the same photo in my hand. I remember David as the one who cried a lot, but looking at the photo again, I realized we all had red eyes. I was no exception. That's how it was. Kevin watched silently as I indulged in memories. It was all because of you, wasn't it? After narrowly losing the game, we returned to the locker room, feeling frustrated and stunned. Even after hearing the coach's words, it still didn't feel like reality. But just before taking the photo, things changed. One of us started crying loudly. David back then. We were all holding back tears, but his crying broke the dam. He had voiced our collective emotions. It was a relief for someone like me, who's not good at expressing feelings. I think it was because we could cry openly there that we were able to move forward. Although I didn't pass the first-choice public high school that Tyler mentioned, now that my dream has come true, the distinction between public and private schools seems trivial. Later, after landing, I bumped into David at the airport. It was a bit awkward since the announcement was meant as a farewell. Jason, you really surprised me with that announcement. His expression was a mix of a laugh and a cry. Good, you heard it. I'm glad. Thanks, Jason. Like you said, the world is close when you're on a plane, and the sky connects us, so I'm not alone. He smiled broadly. Suddenly, he began rummaging in his bag. By the way, Grace gave me a package from you earlier. Can I open it? No, don't open it here. Wait until you're at your hotel or new place. Startled by my insistence, he stopped and said, Okay. Reading a letter in front of me would be too embarrassing. Next time I come back, I'll fly with you again. Take care of me then. Sure thing. We waved our hands overly large and finally parted ways for Ray-all. David's face showed no signs of doubt or anxiety as he walked away. Soon after, his brand began gaining more recognition. According to the message I received, he will soon participate in the Paris Fashion Week. Hearing about the remarkable progress of my close friend made me as happy as if it were my own achievement. As a result, his brand is expanding its stores in the US, especially popular among young women. In our company, his brand is a constant topic of conversation. Not just among Grace and the members who attended that drinking party, but also among senior and new flight attendants. One day after work, I received a message from David. It's your birthday, right? Here's a return gift for you. Take it, it said. When I opened the delivered cardboard box, inside were a tracksuit top and bottom. and they even had his brand logo. Really? 2 sets, one for lounging and one for exercise. I gratefully accepted them and hung them on a hanger, displayed on my wall. When I mentioned it to Grace and the others, they were envious and amazed. As far as I know, his brand hasn't released tracksuits yet. So, the birthday present I received was specially made just for me. This fact was a major reason for the envy among the ladies. By the way, I haven't worn the tracksuits even once, despite receiving them months ago. I'd hate to get them dirty as loungewear or tear them during exercise. It's too precious to wear. When I told this to David, he scolded me, saying, "Clothes are meant to be worn." I apologized but still haven't worn them yet. I wonder when and on what occasion I should wear these special tracksuits. This has become my biggest dilemma lately. Passengers on airplanes come with various emotions. Some bored with joy, others with sadness. Some with excitement, others with reluctance. For work, tourism, relocation. Not just for our airline, passengers have diverse feelings and purposes. My job is to safely deliver all these different passengers to their destinations. With the tension of carrying my own dreams and the lives of the passengers, I fly through the skies today. Without belittling anyone, I'll continue to strive, holding pride in myself, not just relatively, but absolutely. Gazing up at the vast sky, that's the promise I make to myself. As the wall clock struck 5 p.m., I shut down my laptop, put it in my bag, and stood up. I plan to finish the rest of my work at home. See you all tomorrow, I said to my colleagues and boss. Then, a senior employee, Jason, spoke up. "Hey Alex, aren't you going to the anniversary party? Today, a party to celebrate our company's 20th anniversary was being held at a hotel banquet hall." "Sorry, I have to take care of my dad." "Ah, that stuff. Can't you get a sibling to cover for you?" Everyone in the office knew I left on time every day to take care of my father. "I don't have any siblings. My father is an only child too." "That's too bad. You're missing a chance to drink all you want on the company's dime." I nodded to Jason's sympathetic look and left the office. My name is Alex. I'm turning 30 this year. I live with my dad, and unfortunately, I don't have a significant other. The company I work for sells business software like accounting and attendance systems, and we've been marketing cloud-based systems to businesses. With the recent societal shift towards remote work, there's been a surge in companies wanting to move their operations to the cloud, and our sales have been climbing. Our president, Mr. Carter, had told all employees to attend today's party as many of our clients would be there. But, to do that, I would have had to extend my dad's daycare hours. And the company wasn't going to cover those extra costs, so I decided not to go. My dad is only 64, but he developed early onset Alzheimer's 2 years ago, and his condition has rapidly worsened. Now, he can't eat or go to the bathroom by himself. He tends to wander, so someone needs to be with him at all times. That's why I put him in daycare while I'm at work. My mom and grandparents passed away when I was young, and since neither my dad nor I have siblings, we don't have other family to rely on. Could you come here for a minute? Yes, sure. The day after the anniversary party, I was called into the president's office. The topic was what I expected: last night's party. "Alex, why didn't you come to the party last night?" He asked me this in a stern tone. I explained the situation to him. Then, Mr. Carter became furious. "Are you saying the extra daycare fee for your dad is more important than our company's 20th anniversary party?" Basically, he was saying not to be stingy about such expenses for the company's sake. Really, young people these days are so disappointing. When I was young, I worked my tail off, sacrificing my own and my family's needs. With that, Mr. Carter sighed in exasperation. This man, who has lived his whole life with his mother and wife taking care of him, will never understand how I feel. Even though I leave work on time every day, I still have a ton to do afterward. I shop for groceries, prepare dinner, do the dishes, laundry, and cleaning, then take care of my dad. Even my weekends don't feel like a break. Mr. Carter could never understand how hard this kind of life is. Some time later, I was busy preparing for an important business negotiation. The client was Anderson Commerce, a fairly large company, and if this negotiation succeeded, it would lead to a major contract. Mr. Carter had high hopes for it. But, just 5 minutes before I was about to leave for the negotiation, I got a call on my phone. It was from the daycare where I had left my father. "Hello, is something wrong?" Yes, a fever, you say. Got it, I'll head over there right away. Apparently, my dad had developed a high fever. It's unusual for him to get a fever, as he rarely catches colds. They asked me to come pick him up immediately, so I reported it to Jason. "I'm sorry, I just got a call from the daycare saying my dad's come down with a fever. I need to go pick him up right now." "What? Then what about the negotiation?" I'll have to ask someone to go in my place or reschedule it. For now, I'll call the client myself." "Understood. I'm counting on you." As I called the client and hurried out of the office, I got into the elevator. Mr. Anderson, the president of the client company, was eager to implement our cloud service as soon as possible. When I informed him that I couldn't make it today, he said, "Then we'll consider services from other companies." No, another one of our staff will be attending, so please bear with us." Not wanting to lose this opportunity to a competitor, I decided to ask a colleague who was free to step in. I sent them an internal email with the location of the presentation file I had prepared in advance, along with other relevant information. While doing this, I reached the nearest train station and boarded the next train. "Sorry I'm late. Dad, are you okay?" I picked up my father from the daycare and took him straight to the hospital by taxi. The diagnosis was influenza. This was troublesome, since he'd been sick for 5 days and needed 2 more days after his fever gone down before he could return to daycare. This meant I couldn't take him there for nearly a week. I would have to take time off from work. Taking that long off from work wouldn't look good. But there was no other choice. First, I called the colleague I had asked to cover for me to find out how the negotiation went. "Sorry for putting you on the spot today." "No problem at all." "So, how did it go?" The feedback from the client wasn't bad. They said they'd consider it. Then I reported this to Jason and also mentioned my father's flu and that I would need to work remotely for a while. That stuff. Jason understood and agreed. A week later, my father's health had fully recovered, and I returned to the office for the first time in a while. But then something shocking happened. My desk was gone. Well, not exactly the desk was there, but the files of my work that should have been on it were missing. Instead, my personal items from inside the desk had been haphazardly packed into a cardboard box on top of it. What does this mean?" I asked, and Jason informed me. "Alex, Mr. Carter wants to see you. Head to his office right away." As instructed, I went to his office, and Mr. Carter said to me, "Alex, you took a whole week off work at a time like this. Do you have any idea how busy we are? Are you taking your job too lightly? I don't care if it's for caregiving or whatever. I don't like employees who neglect their work for such reasons. You're fired." "What are you saying? You're firing me?" "That's what I'm saying." But I wasn't just off. I was working remotely. I was definitely working from home. Mr. Carter didn't listen. "Shut up. If you're serious about your job, show up at the office." "What about last week's negotiation? I heard Mr. Anderson from the other company is hesitant about implementing our service. Didn't we lose credibility because you bailed on the negotiation?" Indeed, as Mr. Carter said, I had tried contacting Mr. Anderson several times since then, but I still hadn't received a favorable response. But I was planning to patiently persist with that matter. Anyway, someone who can't prioritize the company's needs doesn't belong here. Got it. Faced with Mr. Carter's anger, I stood my ground. I haven't done anything wrong, so I can't accept this. Saying that, I slammed the door and left his office. I walked out of the company and sat down on a bench in a nearby park, feeling completely lost. Even if I wanted to consult with HR, the HR manager was Mr. Carter's brother, and he probably wouldn't listen to this story. After all, I shouldn't be fired without a valid reason. So, this was just harassment out of Mr. Carter's anger, but on further thought, working under such a malicious person was foolish. With that in mind, the next day I submitted my resignation. I had no more attachment to that company. In any case, I needed to support my father. I immediately went to the employee service and started looking for a new job. Fortunately, 2 weeks later, I secured a job in the same industry. It was a bit farther from home, and the salary was lower than my previous job, but it couldn't be helped. I diligently applied my product knowledge and sales experience gained from my previous job. After a while, I got to know a female office worker at the desk next to mine named Emily, and surprisingly, she confessed her feelings to me, and we started dating. Emily was 26, 4 years younger than me, a calm, bright, and kind woman. If I hadn't resigned from my previous company, I would never have met Emily. Thinking about it, maybe being unfairly fired by Mr. Carter turned out to be a good thing. Life has its ups and downs. There are good times and bad times. So, even when bad things happen, I believe there will be good things ahead, and I should keep living positively. It was some time after Emily and I started dating. My direct boss, Michael, began to target me. He harassed me when no one else was watching. I was repeatedly forced to redo reports and presentation materials, and I was unjustly criticized for my abilities and appearance. And that was without having made any mistakes. "You're completely useless." He would keep throwing such words at me. Each time, I wondered if he was okay. Eventually, I learned why Michael was acting this way from a conversation with a female colleague. About Michael, he used to like Emily. Really, I had no idea, but she wasn't interested, so she kept turning down his dinner invitations. So that's it. He didn't like that I won Emily's heart. Moreover, Michael started snatching up deals I was close to closing, claiming the credit for himself, so my sales performance wasn't improving, which was incredibly frustrating. Maybe this was a price for dating Emily. But the stress was wearing me down, and my mind was slowly becoming exhausted. Emily kindly listened to my complaints and worries, encouraging and comforting me. Ironically, this situation only strengthened a bond between Emily and me. Then one day, out of the blue, I received a call from my former boss, Mr. Carter. "Alex, please, I'm begging you, come back to us." What, now, of all times? I was shocked by his sudden request. What on earth was happening? The thing is, Mr. Anderson from Anderson Commerce insists on dealing with you only for the contract. Mr. Carter said in a feeble voice. I never imagined that Mr. Anderson would think so highly of me. "I'm sorry about saying you were fired. I'll raise your salary higher than before, so please come back." Mr. Carter pleaded desperately. I told him firmly, "I'm sorry, but my family is important to me. I have no intention of returning to a company that prioritizes work over family." Mr. Carter fell silent, and I felt a bit relieved. Then, right after hanging up, I contacted Mr. Anderson of Anderson Commerce. "Is that you, Alex? Long time no see." "Long time indeed, Mr. Anderson." I arranged a meeting with him, prepared presentation materials for the product, and headed to Anderson Commerce. Fortunately, my current company handled the same product I had recommended to Mr. Anderson. Arriving at the office and being ushered into the president's room, I started my product presentation without much preamble. After listening to me, Mr. Anderson began to speak. "Alex, I heard from Jason that your father has Alzheimer's disease. On the day I had to cancel the previous negotiation, I had explained to him that my father, who needed care, had come down with the flu. After learning that I had been fired, he heard the details from Jason. Because of early departures and remote work for caregiving, a company that starts talking about unfair dismissal is not one we'd contract with," he said, laughing heartily. "So, we're going to make a deal with your company this time. Looking forward to working with you, Alex." "Mr. Anderson, thank you very much." I shook his extended hand and bowed my head. It was my first major contract since joining the new company. He immediately signed into contracts. Now, Michael couldn't steal the credit for this. Mr. Anderson and I talked about various things afterward. Actually, my wife was in a car accident a few years ago, and the after effects left her in a wheelchair, so I know how hard it is to care for a family member. "You're doing well." So that's why he sympathized and helped me. "Life is hard for both of us, but let's keep at it," he said, patting me on the back, which gave me courage. "Life has its ups and downs. I feel like good things will continue from here." Meeting Emily and being tired from work and caregiving, her presence heals and energizes me. I want to be that kind of presence for her. I want us to be a relationship where we support each other. Thinking this, one day I proposed to her. "I'm so happy," she said, crying with joy. I had been nervously wondering if she might say no because of my father's caregiving, but it seems I had nothing to worry about. Announcing our engagement at work might make Michael's harassment worse, but I am prepared for that. However, before we could even announce our engagement, Michael's transfer was decided. Life truly has its ups and downs. You never know what might happen, and even if bad things keep happening, I believe that good things will come later in equal measure. With that thought, I continue to work hard at my job and caregiving, planning to make Emily happy for the rest of our lives.